Okay, is everybody ready for a goofy versus video? We're doing Korg ES1 versus Akai MPC2000XL. And the reason I say it's a goofy versus video is because they're just so different. They're different in price point, they're different in functionality, but the core basics, the very core sampling basics and sequencer is there. There's a similarity. The similarity that I see is, like I said, the sequencer and this just basic sampling capabilities. And when I talk to people who are interested in an MPC and haven't grown up with hardware and never had MPCs the first time around, like the 2000, 2000XL, the 3000, and they're probably younger people who just have never been exposed to this kind of hardware, they're looking at these because they see them in people's studios. They hear certain artists talk about them. And so they're being introduced to the idea of hardware samplers. And because this is one of the samplers that they're seeing a lot of, younger people mostly, who I talk to, they are looking at buying one of these as their first sampler. And there's nothing wrong with that idea, especially if you get it for a good price. You can actually flip it for a profit if you don't like it. Or you'll at least get your money back if you don't overpay for it. And there's lots of them out there. They're easy to fix. There's lots of parts, blah, blah, blah. They're a great machine to buy. That's why I sell them. I buy and sell them all the time. But is it a good introduction to sampling and having an outboard sampler? The price point tells me in a way, no. I'm in Canada. These are typically going for $800 to $1,200 or more right now, which is still a great price, but compared to 6 months ago, it's high. This in Canada goes for $300. This has direct sample inputs. There they are there. So, sorry, input. Can be a stereo input, but there's a single input. It's got MIDI in, out, and through. It's got stereo outputs. You can, if you're not sampling, you can use this as an audio through, so you can pass audio through this, and you can use this delay effect on incoming audio. That's the only effect you can use on it, though. You can't use any of these. That's only for internal sounds. And while this does have sampling capabilities, and it's a really straightforward sampler to use, I love using it, it is only a digital readout. This sampler will give you a waveform readout. This sampler, gives you a digital readout. So this is the start. So there's start, end, and fade out, which is an automatic fade out that you can't really... Oh, you can adjust it. I thought it was on or off. Okay, so it's an adjustable fade out. That's nice. I forgot that was there actually. And yeah, so start, end, and fade out. This one, you can you can clearly see here that the editing is a lot different on a waveform. The visual representation. This can chop. It does auto chop, and I find it to be quite accurate and not need very much adjustment after. This auto chops as well, but it does it in a weird way. I don't even know how to explain it. The fact that you can make beats with this with the quantize off. Quantize means if you lay down a beat and it's a little bit off, it will snap it to the grid so that it's on beat. You can turn the quantize off of this one. And the resolution settings for the divisions of beats. So with a very coarse setting on, let me see here if I can bring it up. It's in main screen. What am I doing? Geez, I should know this. Go to tempo, open window. No, timing. What am I doing? Wow, I got so distracted. Okay, so on this, you can see this is where all the timing and swing happens, the swing amount. Both units have swing, so this has swing on it, this has swing. A lot of people like this swing. I haven't heard much feedback about this one. I personally like this swing. And then, so there's note value, so you can have it snap to the correct timing on 8ths, 16ths, 30 seconds. So what I'm saying is you can really mess around with that quantized resolution, it's called. And you can even turn the quantize off on this machine. This one, you can't. It is pretty rigid. Whatever you put in, it's going to snap it to the grid. It's going to be very quantized. You can mess with the swing, yes, but you can't go in and just lay down a snare off grid and then do the hi-hat a little bit off as well, like you can with this. So there's much more control of the sequencer and how you can lay down samples and manipulate them. This one's a lot simpler, but again, that's reflected in the price. There are workarounds to make something hit a little bit sooner or later, and that has to do with either adding space to the front of the sample or just shifting where the start time is. And it's a little bit more challenging on here to do and to get that feel, but I quite often don't feel the need to. I don't feel like I'm missing out on much when I use this, because when I use this, I have quantize on anyway. I like having it snap to grid, and some people love the fact, you can do Jay Dilla style with quantize off and make it like a real drummer. I do that occasionally, and I like that it's an option there. But again, if I were looking at this, when I talk to people who are looking at buying their first hardware sampler, and they're asking me about this, I quite often do tell them about this because, like I said, the price point, they're built very well. There's a low noise floor. They sound great. They're 32 kilohertz. You can resample internally with this. So you can, put effects on, resample internally, affect it some more how you want, resample it. This one you can resample, but resample to this one, when you do it, means that it's more sound degradation, like a lower bit rate is what happens. To resample this, you'd have to record it into something and then bounce it back. And I could be wrong about that. Maybe there is on internal resampling, but I don't think there is on this. But there is on this. So basically what I'm saying, this has so many things going for it. It could possibly be the most underrated sampler that I know of. I don't know about every sampler. I haven't had every sampler. But from what I've seen over the years and what I've had, this thing kicks ass. So if you're thinking about your first sampler, consider this one. It's such a mangler too. It's a drum machine. It's a sampler. It's a solid sequencer. It's got smart media, which is quite outdated now, but it does have a storage medium. There we go. And you can just mangle sounds, the individual sounds and tracks, so fast and so intuitively that I think a lot of modern machine makers would benefit from looking at the interface of this and integrating it somehow into what they produce. So that's got some effects on it. I believe it's the decimator. And for live, playback live, so you want to spin with it, like DJ a set with it, or use it in a live PA where you have this and some other instruments. Not only could this be the sequencer master, but it could also, it can be the slave, obviously. And the features that make it great for live performance to me, or just jamming when you're in your studio, is the solo. So I hit solo, I hit whatever instrument or instruments I want, and it's there. I hit solo one more time, and it goes back to playing everything. Then we also have mute groups. So hold mute down, press whatever I want to mute. How cool is that? This thing is just amazing. Can't believe this sampler and the price of it. And it's the sister or brother, sibling to the Korg ER1. That, you know, that they're one that looks like this, but it's red here. It's a drum synthesizer. I don't have one now, but I have one actually coming. I just bought one from Japan yesterday. And it's a sister to that, and I've had them both before, and they work really well together. The MIDI implementation on this is great. It's small enough that you can have it on your lap. It's not featherweight, but it's not heavy either. It's decent construction. Plastic bottom. Plastic case around the bottom, rather. And metal plate on the bottom. Oh, there we go. There's some interesting information. I bought this one off Facebook in 2019, November 2019, for $160. I would have no problem paying $300 for one now, a year and a bit later. And there's a good chance that I will actually buy another one. I love them. And this one happens to be in really pristine condition. Let's hear another song here. It's got two sets of pattern banks with 64 patterns each. It has, like I said, audio in and through. It has 99 sample slots. I can't remember the amount of time that you can, of sampling time on this. It cannot be upgraded. It's fixed as it is. It's obviously a lot less sample time if you use stereo instead of mono. But I've never really run into a problem with this because I know that it has limitations with the amount of sample time that it can have. So I also like that about it because you have to be very selective about what you're sampling, and it becomes very minimal as well. The sound quality is superb. To me, it sounds of the same quality as 48 kilohertz, even though it's 32 kilohertz. So there's no real coloring of the sample that happens that I'm aware of, that I don't hear one anyway. Whereas an MPC60 will have some color and add some color to the sample. This one is pretty transparent. It doesn't color the sound really that I'm aware of. Just trying to think of what else I might want to mention. These are all the sample banks. So you can have 99 samples stored in here, but you can have 4 mono or stereo samples here, 1 mono sample here, and then these are mono samples as well, and they work as choke groups. So if this was let's take this off. Okay, so this is a choke group example. Closed hi-hat, open hi-hat. Hear how it ends the open hat. So you can put any samples you want in there and have them choke each other, and that becomes an interesting effect. It's got accent, which is awesome. So to manipulate whatever sound you want, you just select the sound and you can see where it's laid out. The other thing that's amazing on this, it's a good thing I'm taking my time here so I can remember all this. It has 4 bars, which is awesome. A lot of samplers only have 2 or even 1. A lot of drum machines and samplers. The fact that this has 4 available, you don't have to use them all. You can set it to 1, 2, 3, or 4 bar. But the fact that it has those, awesome. I love it. Could be bars or measures. Wow, I can't believe I don't know that. But I believe it's bars. The samplers, or the effects on board, are great. My favorites are the compressor, distortion, decimator. The reverb's decent. A lot of people don't like it. The other amazing thing about this, and both units have this doesn't always come with effects though. You would have to upgrade or have bought one that has it already. The amazing thing about this is the motion sequence, which again this can do. So for example, if I'm recording a track and I want to manipulate something, like this can do all kinds of different, you can assign it to different effects like tuning. So say I wanted to tune a sound on that pad in a track that I was making and have it change the tuning as it's recording throughout the bar. I could do this, and when I played it back, I wouldn't have to manipulate this. It would have recorded my movements and it will recreate it, it'll loop it. This does the same thing, but it does it with this delay effect. It does it with these effects. So I can basically record. It's not set up to do that. I'd have to find a right track. You can record it so that if I did this while it's recording through the bar, it will save that, and it's called motion sequencing, and whatever movements I did on this, it will be recorded. So it's got it for this effect, and it has it for individual tracks. So actually all these tracks, whatever you do to this one here, if you turn on motion sequence for any of these tracks, they're all going to have this motion sequence applied to it. So you get one motion sequencer control for all these tracks, these effects and these effects. And with that, you can do some serious things and make the song move, the beats move throughout. So let's hear. So it may not be your favorite song, but it's a good demonstration as to what can be done with the motion sequencer. Oh, that's really playing for a long time. That was awesome. Yeah, it demonstrates how you can pitch or tune things in real time with your hands, and it records it into the sequence. And I did it to the beats in this, the snare, the bass line, and I did it in this one as well. I used the effects motion sequencer into this, so listen to this. So you hear the movement that it adds, and let me take it off when it comes up to this next part. So you see how there's no movement to the song? It's still a decent beat, I still like that. But there's no character to it, there's no movement, and then when I re-engage it, So yeah, there we go. That's my take on this. I hope you enjoyed this video and it helps you make a decision. Thanks for watching.